I'm doing this is because I'm realizing that people don't know what it's going to be. And even I have been brainwashed to the point not knowing what the return of Yahuwah will look like. I mean, what to expect. Um, the ministers are trying to make you afraid that there's a either fallen angels or alien invasion, all kinds of stuff, and demonic. But how about we just go back to the word, okay? What does it look like when Yahushua set up his temple in the mount above the mountain? What does it look like? Has he already done it? Let's see. Something's going wrong. Okay, now we're back. So has he already set his holy hill, above in the sky? I think it's very possible. They're saying that, oh, it'll go away. It's only a season. It's only a season. It's going to go away. What if he doesn't go away? That this is the time when he comes back. I would love for him to say. Anyway, but when this is the awakening, and not very many people are awake yet. So I think it's going to keep on happening. He's not going away. He's above us now. I have seen the cherubims, and ever since December of 2024, I have seen the cherubims in the sky. Any telescope, you can see them. And then if you're praying in tongues, they've come near to listen. So, what do we expect when Mashiach, when Yahuwah comes back? For chapter 3. For look, the Master, Yahuwah Sabaoth, is turning aside from Jerusalem, or Jerusalem actually, and from Yehuda, the stock and the store, all the supplies of bread and all the supplies of water, the mighty men of the man of battle, of the men of battle, the judge and the prophet. Hi, Tony. Um, I don't know if you just got here or what. Then verse 2. The mighty men and the man of battle, the judge and the prophet and the diviner and the elder. Now that's interesting. They put the word diviner right there with the word of elder. See, there it is right there. Okay? I thought diviners were wrong. But why did they put it there like that? The the judge, the prophet, the diviner. I guess the divine is the diviner, right? The creator is another word for the creator, all right? Okay. Then verse 3. And hi, Coco. How are you today? And Chet? No, Chet. It's just Chet. Shabbat. Yahu. It's the BYNV. Lewis White. Shay or Shy. Okay. Oh, your name? Shabbat. Yeah, the only thing I do different when I'm reading the BYNV is I don't like all the Allahims. I prefer Alua because I've met Alua in the realms, and Well, I met him, and I laid my face on his neck, and I wrapped my arms around him, and he wrapped his arms around me. And yes, Alua. And and I cried into his chest, into his neck, and I cried out, Alua, Alua. And so um I don't go with Elohim. I go with Alua. Yes, Elohim is plural. Yes. And so that could mean the any of his kingdom. So it could be any of his messengers or any of his angels, right? It doesn't define the one true God, right? So I prefer. I don't know what chatbot is, but okay. So let's read about Alua some more. So I was confused because I can show you here. Um, in verse 2 here, it says the diviner and elder. Okay, when it's speaking of the judge, the prophet, and the diviner and the elder. Um, so I guess diviner is not bad if you're speaking of the creator, right? The diviner is the divine, right? Okay, verse 3. The commander of 50 and the highly respected man and the counselor and the skilled craftsman and the clever enchanter. No, now there you go is another diviner, right? So it's witchcraft. And I shall make young youths. I shall make youths their head. So in other words, our children are going to be telling us what to do. I shall make youths their head, and children shall rule over them. And the people shall exert pressure, man on man, and man on his neighbor, and the young rise up against the older, and the lighter esteemed against the higher esteemed. Yeah, that's happening right now. I mean, my 22-year-old today and my 10-year-old are just mad at me because I won't use doctors. Um, and I'm going, y'all are so naive, you know? Uh, I have all the proof. I'm 51 years old. I know what they did to me, you know? So, yes, the children are ruling already, right? So this is the time of the return of Yahuwah. Okay, verse 6. When a man takes hold of his brother in the house of his father by the garment and says, Come, be a chief over us, and let this ruin be under your hand, he shall swear in that yom, that saying, I am not a healer, for in my house is neither bread nor garment. I'm going to just put it down here because I can't read through the phone. Um, do not make me a chief of the people. Verse 8. For Jerusalem has stumbled and Yehuda has fallen because their tongue was their doing. Their tongue, their tongue and their doings are against Yahuwah for, not for, sorry, to provoke the eyes of his esteem. I always wondered about that. 7 eyes or 1 eye. 7 eyes of Yahuwah. Verse 9. The look on their faces witnesses against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to their being, for they have brought evil upon themselves. Coco says, I guess she doesn't speak English as her first language. Okay. Um, verse 10. Say to the righteous, it is well. I'm gonna move you over here, guys, so I could read better. So we need, if we're righteous, we don't have to fear the coming of Yahuwah. Okay, but we know that many people are hiding already in bunkers and in tunnels under the ground, trying to, because they know that the rule of Yahuwah is here, and they don't want to be here. They're, they're lying and saying it's the time of the rapture, but it's actually the time of the ruling and reigning of Yahuwah on the earth, on the Eretz. Okay, so verse 10. Say to the righteous, it is well, for they eat the fruit of their doings. Woe to the wrong, evil, for the reward of his hand is done to him. Yes, fear not, for Yahuwah is with you. Yes. I can tell you a vision I had, and it really, I mean, it started out well. I had, I was in a like a meeting, and it was outdoors, kind of outdoors. I mean, it became outdoors. Let's put it that way. We were in a building meeting, and one of the pastors that I respect came up to me and gave me a boy, a child, a male child, and two linen diapers, and said, "Wait for the father and make sure you keep his linens clean." Okay. And then suddenly the building was gone. All the people started leaving. And I was laying with this baby in my arms, and I decided to look up since the sky was dark. And it was supposed to, it was like suddenly dark. And then it kept getting darker. And I looked, and a, there was a what they call a wormhole. There was a black hole, and it was eating the sun and the moon and the stars. And so I was cool with that, right? That kind of the rolling up of the universe, right? And I looked around, and I realized that all of the parts of the earth, of course, I didn't feel the shaking because, I've been prepared, right? But all of the parts of the crust of the earth was breaking apart, and I was only on a square of with the changing table and the baby, and about the size of a piece of plywood. And I noticed that these saucers, flying rolls, were coming up to each um, individual piece of crust where there was a human, and they were collecting them into these spaceships, right? And then I couldn't hold on to the baby because the baby came up. Well, first of all, a spaceship came up to us, and a short gray, about 18 inches, came out of there and tried to get the baby and me to get in. But then I realized it was just a platform, like a bridge to go to the black hole. And the baby gets away from me, and suddenly it's much larger and is running on this platform toward the black hole. And I said, "No, This isn't right. I'm waiting for the Father. You're not the Father, you know? Anyway, if anybody has anything to say about that, I still, is that the great deception, or was, or is that just one of the angels? I mean, I, I was very distraught. Like, I'm trying to do my job and I'm messing up. How can I be messing up and letting the baby go before the father gets here? Anyway, that, because what's what we're doing? We're waiting on the Father. Okay, verse 12. My people, youths exert pressure on them, and women rule over them. O my people, your leaders lead you astray and swallow the way of your paths. Yahuwah shall stand up to plead and is standing to judge the peoples. Now, I have a concern right here. So it says the women shall rule over them, and that's that's not said in a good way, right? It's not said in a good light. And I inherited my husband's business um because of him not handling some things well. And so instead of losing the business, I reopened it under my name and social security because I had the credentials to do that, the licensing to do that. And um, you said it. Let me see what you wrote. Very interesting. Something to chew on. Swallow the ways of the path. Yes. Sounds like the black hole and the stairs going to it. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, like a bridge. Yes. Um. So right now I'm having an issue because I'm both in Titus and here in um Isaiah or Yeshua, no, YashaYahu. It says that women rule over them as a negative light, right? And woke up in the ether, right between heaven and being awake, and I heard, "Give the table to your husband." And I'm going, "Give the table to my husband." My husband, if I do that, I mean, he's almost got me in jail with already resisting me doing the right thing with sending the sales tax in. He won't let me send the sales tax in. He wants me to take what little money he gives me every week and pay the sales tax with that and have nothing. And I just can't do that. I've got to have the whole to balance the budget. If and then God is saying, give him the table, give him the whole table, you know. And then this says again, so Titus talks about women staying at home and letting their husband work. You know, I'm glad to have a brother in Mashiach to speak to. I really am. So if you have to speak on that, if Yahuwah gives you a word, go ahead. Okay, verse 13. Yahuwah shall stand up to plead, and so he's going to beg us, right? To plead, right? And is standing to judge the peoples. Yahuwah enters into judgment with the elders. Well, I think that's the pastors or those that are the emissaries or whatever. And his people and its heads. Now that would be the presidents, right? It is you who have eaten up the vineyard, and the plunder of the poor is in your houses. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the faces of the poor? Declares the Master Yahuwah Sabaoth. Um, verse 16. And Yahuwah says, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with outstretched necks and seductive eyes, walking and mincing as they go. Menacing, maybe? Mincing. Uh, Making a jiggling with their feet. Ooh, a jingling with their feet. That sounds like a prancing girl, right? Trying to get somebody to be attracted to them. Therefore, Yahuwah shall smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and Yahuwah expose their nakedness. In that Yom, Yahuwah takes away the finery of the anklets and the headbands and the crescents and the pendants and the bracelets and the veils and the headdresses and they and the leg ornaments and the sashes and the perfume bottles and the amulets and the rings and the nose jewelry and the costly robes and the cloaks and the shawls and the purses and the mirrors and the fine linen. That's interesting because fine linen is considered a good thing. And the turban and the large veils and all, and it shall be instead of a sweet fragrance, a smell of decay, and instead of a belt, a rope, and instead of a well set hair, baldness. So, I've had a dream about this. I'll get to it in here before I tell it. And instead of a festival robe, no, a festal robe, a girdle of, let me come over here, sackcloth, and branding, no, brattling instead of loveliness. Brattling instead of loveliness. I don't know what brattling means. Your men shall fall by the sword, and your strength in battle, and her gates shall lament and mourn, and she deserted shall sit on the ground. So this is what the coming of Yahuwah is, okay? It's not what we've been told. Okay, so this part about taking away all the finery. Um, Taking away the makeup and the purse and the bracelets. In 2020, well, even 2019, um, I wore headbands that were made of metal. I wore support underwear, let's just put it that way, that had metal brackets in it. And I wore a necklace, and I couldn't wear them anymore. The glory, the esteem of Yahuwah came down so hard in 2019 and 2020 but the metal would vibrate and burn me and make me like, woo, a little wacky, a little wacky. And this is before I came to Torah. I was still a church goer. And I took all the metal out of my clothing. Um, I never wore, I was never gaudy. But I couldn't even wear a headband to push my hair back from my face. Anyway, that's worth 2 cents, I guess. So, I guess it's coming again, since the temple, the Mishkan, is coming back down to dwell among us. That we will probably not want to adorn ourselves with metal yet again. Hmm. It's interesting that purses were in there. I mean, like, and I've been like that, but not because I thought purses were gaudy, just because I want my hands free. Same thing happened to you? Cool. I mean, not cool, but cool. Because, the judgment of Yahuwah is not bad. I mean, that was the best year of my life. New Year's of two. Oh, it's so recent. All 11 piercings. Wow. So they were vibrating? Were they burning you? Yeah, I wonder why. It's the scripture says that all these nose rings are going to come out, but people don't seem to be feeling the judgment of Yahuwah at all. They're not, like when in 2019 and 2020, it happened to me. I mean, I couldn't wear a headband. I couldn't wear that metal bra, the metal in the bra. I couldn't wear it anymore. Oh man, I'm so sorry. So you got a dog attacked by a dog? Okay, I'm fixing to kick Coco. I don't know what in the world she's talking about. Okay,